All right, excited to bring on Yanik Silver. He's going to be talking about answering your cosmic alarm clock. So, Yanik's a cosmic catalyst, a mischief maker, Maverick, super fun and creative person who's redefining how business is played and kind of the intersection of growth and impact and fun. And I'm going to let him kind of talk about this whole process with you, but he is the author of Evolved Enterprise, which I know Sebastian mentioned yesterday in the summit. He recently created a cosmic journal and the founder of Maverick 1000, where he's trying to ignite 1,000 suns who make a big impact around the globe themselves. So really excited to have you on, Yanik, and I'll let you take it from here.
All right, cool. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. As I was thinking a little bit about this summit, and I was thinking about I like words. I started as a copywriter, so words to me are really really important, and I think your words really create your world actually. And anytime that I'm talking to someone, you can get a pretty good glimpse of where they are, what's going on, just by the language that they use, and stop yourself a lot of the times too. Like think about how you might answer a question, even something as simple as like, hey, how are you doing? Right. Usually the answer is like, good, pretty good, whatever. Or it could be like, well, made it through another day. Or, there's a big difference there. And then there's also, you want to look out for the person that's like, I'm terrific. How are you? And, are they really terrific? I don't know. I'm not so sure. But so the words to me are incredibly important. And as we're thinking about this time and space that we're in, this really unique moment, I was telling my son who's 15, we're in the car, and I was telling him, I'm like, history books are going to be written about this time. Like this is the moment. Like you're living through history. So 2020 was a big year for me. 2020 equals perfect vision, and I had always anticipated what would this be, and I actually have a report of these trends. I call them 20 predictions for the transformative 2020s. And I think this decade is going to be the most transformative decade that we've lived through. Just so many things converging. And so we are in this moment, and you can look at it, again, your language, right? You can look at it from, oh, I hope I make it through this, to, this could be the most transformative time for me to really step into what I was meant to do. And so I'll take it from there, and I'll leave that with you. Where should I take this, Tim?
Say that again.
Where do you want me to take this?
Take this.
What's well, actually, so let me keep going a little bit on the words, because I just looked up hope. This is the Global Hope Summit, and so do you know the word origin of hope, by the way?
I do not.
All right, so we're going to learn it together because I didn't know it either. Old English, Hopian, Hopian, have the theological virtue of hope. Hope for salvation, mercy, trust in God's word. Also, to have trust, to have confidence, have confidentiality or trust that something is or something will be so. A word of unknown origin. And let's see. German Hoffen, to hope, which is borrowed from Low German. Some suggest a connection with hop on the notion of leaping in expectation, to wish for something. So to hope against hope, to hold to hope in the absence of any justification for hope. So let's see. Old English hopa, confidence in the future, and God or Christ as a basis for hope from hope. So, all right. So I like the hop. I think we're gonna stick with hop as you can hop
Seems like the
around.
funnest one, right?
Yeah, but this, it's a really interesting, right? To like, a lot of people think of hope, and they think of that I need some reason to have hope, or I need I don't know, like there has to be something that shows up in order for me to have hope, and otherwise, without hope, there's despair, or there's worry, or there's a lot of anxiety, and we're definitely living through these times when people are waking up with their heart racing, or they're going to bed with their mind racing, or and a lot of that is really about what you're feeding to yourself. So I will make sure that I don't want to be disconnected from the world, but I do want to pick and choose when I connect. And then also, how do I place these, I don't know, bookends around it, right? So it's very easy to go down maybe even the social media rabbit hole, down Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, A, an hour and a half, 2 hours has passed. B, you've just allowed in all this other stuff that were you prepared for it or not? And I think right now, if you have any kind of mindfulness practice or anything like that, it's the time to double down on that kind of work. It's like, this is, everything is vying for your attention, right? And the stuff that gets your attention. So I just watched the Social Dilemma documentary. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually just watched it last night with and talked about it with Dave this morning. So that's random.
Yeah, I mean, so it was pretty good and very profound in some ways. I watched it with my kids who are 15 and 13 and made them sit through it, and my wife and I. And the big thing that stuck out for me was, one, that your social media feeds are so tailored to exactly what you spend time on, to the microsecond.
Right.
And like it becomes this echo chamber, and then it's also going to cause you to have beliefs that you may or may not have even had before. Like, you really need to be just like going back to foundations of your thinking to understand, like, how have you been influenced or not. In most cases, you don't even know you're influenced, and that's the wildest thing. It's like, so again, I started as a copywriter, so I was enthralled by this idea that you could write a letter, or you could put out an ad and somebody would give you money without you ever having to talk to them. Well, this has taken that to the 10x level,
Right.
And it's not just that. So is it done for good or bad, or we'll have to wait and see. But it's definitely done in order to increase advertising revenue, in order to increase whatever the company's end goal is, and in this case, most of the time, it's profit. So, what are you doing to combat that? Like, how do you show up into the game? And so, in this moment of time, how are we showing up? So, I have a couple success principles and foundational pieces that I really think about a lot, and you want to make them like habits that are just these. So, I've had like we talked about mindfulness, so meditation practice for about the last 6-7 years or so, where before, I'm this ADD entrepreneur that has a million ideas a minute. I still do. And I never thought I could meditate. And it was, there's a couple different like pieces that really helped me with it. And the one time that I really got it was actually snorkeling, because you could listen to your breath more. And so it's really funny. Like I feel like source or spirit will kind of trick you into doing stuff that's really good for you. It's almost like sometimes people have called it like beginner's luck, or if you show up to a blackjack table and you win a big hand or something, it's like it hooks you in that way, or it can hook you in another way. But so for me, it was meditating underwater, and then all of a sudden I was like enveloped by this school of silver fish, and it was like, whoa, that was pretty awesome. I want to do that again. And then like 2 days later, I was meditating underwater, listening to my breath. And then all of a sudden I see the sea turtle, like, 3 feet away from me. And I'm like, holy crap. And I pop my head up. I'm like, there's no one around me, and go back down and go swim with the sea turtle for like 15 minutes. And it was just like amazing. And so that was like a little hit. And then I read a book called Success Through Stillness by Russell Simmons. And I had the good fortune of interviewing Russell for one of our Maverick events. And I'm like, all right, this dude is like ADD to the max, and also incredibly successful. I'm like, okay, if he can do this, let me at least try it and give it an experiment. And that's the other thing. I love experiments, right? Like, so during this period of, things being so in flux, you can do a lot of different experiments. And so one of them could be a mindfulness experiment. And there's so many great apps out there now. There's so many, teachers out there. So it's not that difficult to find one, but what is more difficult is actually sticking with it. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna give this a go. So I like to do these 33-day experiments, and then I would see, okay, I wanted to make it so I could win. That's the other thing is that you don't want to make it so big. This like a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to start journaling, and I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to do, 50 gratitudes a day, and I'm going to send out thank you notes, and I'm going to, and all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, I didn't do it. And then they feel like a failure. So even if it's like, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day or whatever it is. And also, you think about like that morning time or evening time are really important times, because what you go to bed with or how you wake up are really critical during this time. And so for me, if I can get to the morning and have a meditation session, that is going to make a big difference. And it's been a huge game changer. Like I couldn't even imagine it, not doing it anymore. And so that's one thing. And then, all these other, it's funny. It took me, so about 11, 12 years ago, I had this moment. I call it the cosmic alarm clock moment, where I was, outside looking in, very successful, doing very well online, teaching people how to take their information content, sell it online, and I was helping a lot of people. Just had a hot sports car. You kind of name it, right? Like, but I asked a really simple question, which was, "Am I happy? And would I be happy doing what I'm doing 10 years from now?" And it was a difficult answer, but the truth of it, when I sat and got quieter, and I didn't have a meditation practice at that point, but when I got quieter, the answer was no. And so it forced me then to go back into my journal, and the journaling practice is something I've had for years and years, and I think it's one of our best practices, especially during this time. So, if I was going to give out a homework assignment for an experiment, journaling would definitely be one of those things. And so in my journal, I just wrote about, okay, what would my ideal business look like? What would it, what I be doing? And it was hanging out with other awesome entrepreneurs, taking part in amazing adventures, and also having a charity component to it. Like, so these three main pillars, and what they've become now is growth, impact, and fun. And so originally the company is called Maverick Business Adventures. And I remember we did a Baja dune buggy racing experience as the first one. So I really like this idea of how do you plant a flag first and then go try and figure it out, instead of like trying to figure everything out. And so this time that we have, this might be calling you forth to something that, so I think that our cosmic alarm clock, you can either answer it or hit snooze. And if you hit snooze, it's still going to keep waking you up. And it's like this little soft whisper in your ear about something more, something bigger, something more in alignment with what I call your head, your heart, your higher purpose. And that's what I talk about in Evolved Enterprise, is how do we connect our businesses to that? And so during that time, the journaling practice has always been a key foundational success practice for me. And a lot of people don't know how to start journaling, or maybe they've started and given it up because they're like, "Well, I'm doing it wrong," or they're scared that maybe their wife or their kids or their husband will read it, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever, or that there's a lot of reasons maybe not to do it or be worried about it, but it is like scientifically proven to make you happier. And so even just giving yourself 10 minutes a day to simply, so I do mine before bed, because I can just download what's happened during the day, and just provides on one piece of paper, or in the page there, it provides a beginning, middle, and end. And it's incredibly powerful. And again, it's one of those things that you want to try as an experiment, and give yourself 33 days. Or, a lot of people have been using this, which is the Cosmic Journal, as a really cool way of journaling, because it's got my own experiment, which was 108 days of hand drawing, hand illustrating a journal entry. And then on the left-hand side is like a prompt, or a spot for you to write in it. And I call this the Galactic Instruction Manual that you were missing when you were born to fulfill your destiny. And this is, to me, the perfect time for it, right? Like, so we talk about words. And so if we think about this as, as this terrible, horrible time, or we can think about it as this collective catalyzing time for consciousness, perhaps, or a way of, like, I've never not traveled like this in a long, long, long time. So it's 6 months of being grounded in one place, it's just like water, right? Like when you stir up water, you can't see the bottom, and that's the same for meditation. That's why meditation works. But when you get that quieter space and that grounding opportunity, you can actually see down to the bottom, or see further down, and that's where you get the messages in from your higher self, and what it is. And so this wouldn't have happened without that. So it works like an oracle. So Tim, you want to pick a number between 3 and 189, and
yeah, I actually do this a lot before.
All right, or you open up a page and tell me what page you got. You have a purple one or a white one?
I don't have one right on my
Okay.
desk here, but I'll,
Yeah,
I'll
so
let you know.
it works like an oracle. So pick a
Let's do
number.
133.
All right, 133. Let me pull up the page. Give me one sec. All right. This will be a good one. Well, they're all good ones. All right. Can you see that? Does that show up? I'll read it as we're getting the feed going. So 133, it says, you are now in knowing. So this is what it looks like until we get the feed up and going. There you go. All right, so you are now in knowing. And it has a little picture of the Felix Felicis potion there. So now is the only time you have to give yourself guidance. Imagine having the Felix Felicis potion from Harry Potter. The good luck potion was really just about being fully present and moving in full alignment, beyond intuition even. You are now in knowing. You have the entire galactic library at your side, the knowing of the path illuminated by your heart. Simply being here full of awe, grace, and pure ease. When you pick a path out of alignment, you know it. That's when your intuition and gut say, I told you so. That's your calibration system, and that's how the guardrails are in place, moving you towards your full evolutionary growth. But you can keep yourself from bumping those edges by simply knowing you're guided. Your destination is already reserved, and you have one of 7 billion unique ways back to the one. It's always in the right direction and right timing, but many times it's the road less taken. It's not the safe and secure way because there's little growth from the same route. Source wants to provide you with the good luck you have available all the time. It's with trust, faith, and full surrender to something bigger than the small you. And this journal is your path to being fully supported. It's for you and also those awakening with you. So that's that's pretty good and really in line with what we're talking about. So you are now in knowing, and that you have all the guidance that you need, and really there's 7 billion ways, and they all really end up in the exact same spot, which is in oneness, and there's no wrong direction, but usually it comes from the road less taken, and this is an opportunity to really take that road less taken. It's a time for just taking stock of what's really important, what's most needed right now, what is um, what is calling to your heart. Like, so I talk about, like, following your heart is frequently scary but never wrong, and I'm sure everyone on this program has had an opportunity like that where they follow their heart, and it's ended up in a different spot maybe than they even thought they did, but it's never wrong, and it gets you to a different destination. And so journaling to me is that way of getting closer and closer to what is that inner voice, what is that cosmic alarm clock telling you. And by the way, there's also a couple fun little I don't know, Easter eggs or little things in here. So one of them is this. Hold on, let me get my camera right. So if you can see that, there's a picture of a dice, and so it says rock and roll, and so there's a dice that you would roll with the journal. I think I have one here. You want to roll it, Tim, and see what so there'd be another piece to this. Ready? All right, so I rolled a 3. So there's a guide to this in the beginning of the journal, and each number has a different thing. So this number 3 is past, present, future. How would your past version, present version, and future version of yourself speak to this entry? Now I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. So you are now in knowing what we just read there and saw up on the screen. I know you're pushing buttons and doing different things there, but how would your past, present, and future version of yourself think about that?
I think my past version of myself, I guess, would be looking at this like as something that I need to attain, like, or my present would be looking at like what's happening right now, and that I am in knowing right now, and I think in the past, on the past side of that, it would be that, like, even back then, everything was right as it was supposed to be, and
Yeah.
and then now everything is right as it's supposed to be. Right here in this, you know, in this crazy interview we're doing, that I didn't even plan to be an interview, but
That's right.
which is perfect. Um, but and then I think the future self of me is gonna. I think it's gonna look back and like, you know what, I knew everything then that I needed to know in order to get where I am now. So I think that's kind of how I see the past, present, future version of
You are now in
me
knowing.
now and knowing.
Nice. All right. Thanks. Appreciate you playing along on that. You're lucky I didn't make you sing though. That you
Right?
get.
Is that what I forget? That's one of the rules
That's
too.
not one of them, but it's a. We have done that before. But for those of you that are Harry Potter fans, and so my daughter's a huge Harry Potter fan, and she's 13. It's actually really fun now. She's going back to the books, and she read all of them when she was 7, literally all 7 volumes. And there's something really magical about that. Because obviously it's in the world of magic,
Mhm.
but there's magic literally around us every day if we stop and actually bring awareness to it. And there's so many things, right? Like and like I love like synchronicity, and we have a family value called make magic. And make magic is about finding the magic, or these synchronicities, or these things that really can't be coincidences. And they came from this moment where a couple years back we were going up to go visit summer camps for the kids, and I was talking about, hey, what you think about actually appears. And they're like, whatever, Dad. And they love when I share with them all sorts of random weird stuff, and so I'm like, yeah, no, it does. I'm like, okay, what do you want to see on the way up? They're like, a dog, a horse. I'm like, okay, that's pretty easy. Are you sure that's what you want? They're like, yeah. And they're all like, attitudey. And so we literally see a dog within a few minutes at the rest stop, and we see a horse on the side of the road, at a little farm.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there you go. They're like, all right, whatever. That was good. And then my wife, Missy, she's like, all right, well, fine. I want to see a penguin. Like she's like trying to bust my balls basically. And she's like, all right, I want to see a penguin. I'm like, yeah, we'll see a penguin. That's fine.
Yeah.
And not there's not going to be a penguin literally on the side of the road, but so I always hold on to this cheerful expectancy that things are going to show up in that way, and when you look for magic, you find it. And so we go to this camp, and we get the tour. The kids go off and go have fun, and then we get the tour, and we go into the art room, and I'm like, all right, there's got to be a penguin here, and no penguin. And then we go in and only look at one bunk, and literally on some kid's bunk is a picture of a penguin that he or she drew. I'm like,
Nice.
there you go. And I'm like, Miss, look, there's your penguin. She's like, oh my God. And she's like freaking out. And so I'm like, I knew there'd be a penguin. And then so on the way home, we're telling the kids about this, and they're like, "That's awesome." They're kind of into it, and they're like, "Okay." And I'm like, well, you could do something bigger. And then my daughter's like, "All right, I want a polar bear." I'm like, "All right." I'm like, "I want an ice cube." And so we literally got stuck in all this traffic, and we had to get off on another exit to try and find another route. And we all had to get to the bathroom, so we stopped at this little convenience store, and we walk in, and next on the entrance, right by it, is an ice machine, and in the ice machine is an ice cube with a polar bear. And I'm like, look, Zoe, there you go. And like literally, her jaw just dropped, right? Like
Right.
it was so awesome, and to be able to do that, and so this idea of make magic, and it's actually one of the pages in the Cosmic Journal, and you can see a picture of the ice cube with the polar bear and the penguin. That's the piece of artwork.
I've
So
definitely opened that one before.
yeah, page 103, and actually a semi. I don't know if anyone would notice who this guy is in the corner. It's a very poor rendition of Einstein, and with a quote that says, "There's only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other as though everything is a miracle."
Mm.
And I really like that too. It's just like and there's so many ways. And other people who are more skeptical, or just they're like, okay, show me, and that's fine. But do you really only want to live your life in that one way? And so, someone could be like, well, that was your reticular activating system only looking for penguins. And now because you found the penguin, humans are completely meaning making machines. And now they've created a greater meaning out of this. And now, you have this thing. And then how many other places are ice machines have the ice cube and the penguin together in there? And it's funny because when I walk by ice cube machines, I look and I'm like, not all of them have an ice cube and a polar bear in there. So it's again, you get to make the meaning, and especially during this time, you get to make the meaning, and that's what's really powerful. And you get to set your own story. That's why journaling is so powerful, and especially this cosmic journal. Like, I really look at it, and it has an arc to it. And our mutual friend Eric Luchtefeld, he was really the catalyst for this. And maybe I'll share that story too, because it's like taking this time about so he's all about bliss. He's all about like, he wants to invest in people's bliss and get them really just lit up. And for each person, that's something different. And this is a moment in time when you can investigate that moment in bliss of what is it like. Maybe you've like, I remember my friend, supposed to have been about 15 years ago or so. He had been working full time for this agency, and part time he had wanted to do some internet marketing stuff. And so we were friends. We had met at a conference, and he called me up. He's like, "Dude, I just got fired." I'm like, "Congratulations!"
Right.
He's like, "No, I don't think you heard me. I just got fired." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I heard you. Congratulations. That's freaking awesome." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, you can finally do what you've really wanted to do, and this gives you the space to go do it." And literally, I grabbed the bourbon, he grabbed the beer, and on the phone, we outlined and mapped a product that turned into a pretty substantial, successful product that we both did together. It's called 33 Days to Online Profits. And it was something that we both couldn't have done by ourselves. And so that was a really fun way of, that really something that seems like it could be the worst of times or the worst thing that could happen to you ends up being something really, really powerful. And so again, this is the moment in time when we can look back or not even look back, but we can be, you are now in knowing that this is the time for something to really bloom and flourish. And so back to Eric Lochtefeld. So he's all about bliss. And so we've been friends. He spoke at Camp Maverick. And so I went up to New Jersey to hang out with him, and we met for like a breakfast meeting. We were talking about all these different things that I had going on, and then I showed him this little. It doesn't quite look like this, but it was a black moleskin journal that I had been doing an experiment. So again, I love experiments, and I saw this thing online about 100-day art challenge, and I'm like, oh wow, that would be A, a lot of time, and B, what the hell would I do? And I'm like, I love journaling, and it'd be great to actually draw and illustrate a page every day. And so the very first thing I did was create more meaning for myself. So 100 days was good, but 108 days in the wisdom traditions has even more meaning, especially the yogic tradition. So I created 108 little blocks, like little check block marks in the front of this journal. And then every single day, no matter what was going on, I would check it off, right? If I did an illustration, right? And they look like this. They're all these hand-drawn pages. And so it was the best. It was a pure joy and bliss every single day, no matter what was going on. And sometimes it was 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning that I'm drawing this thing. And no matter what, like if you make that commitment, especially to yourself, sometimes we're too easy to break commitments to ourselves. Like we want to, our word is our bond or whatever, you really want to have that. But so many times we're like, well, it's just me or it's just whatever. And we break that. But that's how you get more confident in yourself and that you can do things is by holding an agreement with yourself. So if you're like, all right, and that's why these experiments are so powerful, because there's a beginning and there's an end. So it's not like, okay, I'm never going to have sugar again, ever. That's a pretty hard promise to fulfill. But if you say, I'm not going to have processed sugar for 33 days, that's very doable. And it's something that you can see the results after it too, and see like, how do I feel? So if you try this journaling experiment, if you try the cosmic journal for 33 days and open up to a random page every single day, then you'll see like, how do you feel? So I did this for 108 days, and I was really proud of it. I'd carry it around. I just randomly show it to people, and they're like, "Dude, this is incredible." And I showed it to Eric at our breakfast meeting, and he's like, "I can just tell how lit up you are about this." He's like, "You need to get this out there." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I have a bunch of other stuff going on." He's like, "All right, well, I'm going to invest in it, and you're going to get it going." I'm like, "Fine." And so he literally, wrote the check for me. That we put these little 888 limited edition versions out there, and within like a week or so, I had the pricing for him. I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it, and then it really forced me to also figure out like what the hell the order of it was, because I had all these random pages that I created, and then I had these little 2-inch by 2-inch squares on my kitchen. On my island, and it was like the wildest thing. I've written several books before, but I've never hand drawn my books before. And so literally I have these pages scanned, and I'm trying to figure out like what the order is, how do they go together? And at literally 1:11 a.m. in the morning, I finished the layout of it. And at 1:11 a.m., I finished the left-hand pages, so it was all prompts. I never had prompts before. I didn't need prompts for myself. And so it was just so powerful. Again, these make magic moments. Like if you pay attention, they start lining you up and nudging you, and sometimes pushing you really hard towards I would call your cosmic destiny, or your galactic destiny, or whatever you want to call it, like your greater meaning here, your bliss. Give it a million words, but that's what it is. It's aligning your head, your heart, your higher purpose. And so then when I put that together, I also then had a galley that I got a breakfast meeting with the president of Hay House. And Hay House has seen, literally everything. They published Wayne Dyer. Reed Tracy has seen literally everything. And I made him pull out a page, and he's like, huh. And he pulled another page. He's like, hmm. And he's like, this is amazing. And they literally, sent me a contract, fast tracked the contract to be able to get out in this other calendar year. And then we have an Oracle deck coming out in November too. So it's just like one of these amazing moments. Like you can do way more than you think when you're given an opportunity to kind of take a different track. And this is a time for a lot of people to take that different track and to bring hope to, nothing increases your hope more than being aligned with what you're meant to be doing.
I love that.
You got any questions or any other things you want to?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end it, and I'm getting a little echo, so I'll just let you wrap up by saying like kind of what are you? Where can people find out more about you? Where can they find the journal? That kind of thing, and I really appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So the journal is at cosmicjournal.com, and there's a couple of these limited edition cool versions available. They're vegan leather. And then, of course, you can buy the other Cosmic Journal from literally anywhere, Amazon or anywhere that books are sold. And again, it works like an oracle. That's the coolest part about it. I designed it as my own oracle, that I would flip it open and get a message. And so like that one that we flip to, I'll actually give you a little secret about it.
Yeah.
So you are now in knowing. What do the first letters of that spell out?
Yanik.
Yes. It's a little fun little. I have all these random things in there that partially I amuse myself with, and partially they're for sometimes other people to find. But
there's a lot of synchronicities here. We had the social dilemma. We picked your name out of the Cosmic Journal.
Yeah, and it's good timing too, because we had to reschedule our interview because yesterday was my birthday. That was why I couldn't do it.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, Tim, I appreciate it, and so I'll just leave everyone with that idea of don't hit snooze on your cosmic alarm clock, and you can either answer it or hit snooze, but it's going to keep coming back louder and louder until you decide to take an action on it.
All right, synchro Maverick-nicities, right?
There you go.
All right, man. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.